Hello folks, and welcome to Linux for Seniors. So in today's video I'm going to talk about Q4OS, a Plasma desktop. Give you a tour overview and give you some tips. This video will definitely be more than 2 minutes. None of my videos on my new YouTube site are less than 2 minutes. My previous YouTube site I used to have over 450 videos on. So my new project, Linux for Seniors, was started in the middle of February, less than 3 weeks ago, and I've already got 50 videos for you. More importantly, I'm focused on, seniors and also anyone that wants to learn in a slower pace. So hence my videos are long. All of my videos are moving forward or going to have a timeline on it or chapters also. I do encourage heavily that you subscribe because you can start and stop these videos a lot easier. And then you'll have access to my full library of stuff. That's growing, leaps and bounds, as a matter of fact. So in either case, folks, I recommend that you subscribe, and welcome to Linux for Seniors. Now, I did do some minor adjustments to make a lot of things large, and I'll show you all of those tips and tricks. This is a very simple system to use, and it can also look very complex. But there are some powerful options also at the same time. So first of all, this system is a Plasma desktop. Okay, don't read into the hardware too much. I just use these systems for different functions. This is a fully installed hard drive though. This is not a virtual machine, and basically I'm not running in live mode. They do offer that though. The only function you need is to have a live internet connection. This is a Plasma desktop of the Q4OS, and you can see that the kernel number here. Let's move on. So the first thing you're presented with after you establish a nice internet connection is, what do you want as far as your desktop? Do you want a full-featured one, the basic one, or a minimal one? You have three options here, and then you also have another option with your DE, desktop environment, right here. I chose not to install that for this video for today. So that's the desktop profiler. So you basically you'll pick that, and depending on what you picked is what it installs. The install applications, I don't believe I've seen this particular feature in other desktops. So that makes Q4OS a little different, at least in my book. You can do searches here. You can also install the applications from here by using that key, or you can open up the full-blown advanced software manager. And basically, it's called Application Explorer. If you need updates, they'll be posted here. Where's the software coming from? It's coming mostly from Debian because this is a Debian-based system. It also has, looks like it also has Flatpak software, possibly. I haven't looked through the whole software manager for that. You got a search feature and you can click on things. Pretty simple to install. You can also read about it and then install. And just to point out the fact that during this whole video, you probably won't see me using the vertical scroll bars too much because I use my mouse for most of that stuff. Installed stuff, you need to remove anything, you do it here, you click it open, and you can do it here. And then you can scroll through the menus. Pretty simple stuff to do, right? Okay. Let's continue. Install Proprietary Codecs. That's from your video players and your music players if they need additional software to run whatever files you're trying to play. Screen scaling. I'm using 1080 today. This monitor is capable of 4K, but the reason I'm filming it in 1080 so I can give you the large icons and stuff. This video is, and all of my videos can also be viewed on your smart TVs if you have a YouTube app, and sometimes they look a little softer. And also the 1080 mode is softer than 4K. It looks really sharp in 4K. But I'm filming this in 1080 for two reasons. One, I can bring it to you in a bigger format for the videos. And the second reason, it makes for a faster upload to YouTube. I'm not fond of auto logins at all. Not at all. I think if you have a Linux system, you should tie a user and password to it. This is your system though. Been around Linux for over 25 years. I don't like to see auto logins on Linux systems. I think it's just poor security. Now I'm going to step backwards for a second and talk about an important thing. If you do change your resolution or refresh rate and you hit apply and your screen blanks out for more than 5 seconds, do not reboot your computer, do not move to go, and do not unplug it. Allow it to time out. I heard of a person trashing their system doing that, and they had to reinstall. Just be patient. Allow it to time out, and it'll go back to the previous resolution. All right, I already gave you hardware information, but I'll do it one more time. This is a Plasma desktop, so it does have a couple of nice little features. I'm going to get rid of the clock for a second, so we'll have a clean desktop, and I'll talk about that. It's called a widget. Where do we want to start? I'll start by right-clicking on the desktop. I'm going to first start at the top, configure desktop and wallpaper. If you have some photos of your kids, your pets, your friends, nature, whatever it might be, put it in a folder in your file manager and go click add image and go find it. And then you can set it as wallpaper. You have also some other options. Anytime you make changes to your system, I advocate screenshots. I advocate screenshots. And I am going to show you the tool and how to use it if you are wanting to know that information. Open with Dolphin. Dolphin is your file manager. Create new. You can do a whole bunch of create new something. Folders, text files, LibreOffice Writer for your documents. And my understanding, I heard through the grapevine that LibreOffice is fully compatible with Microsoft Office. At least that's what I've been told. Now, a LibreOffice Writer also can save as is the key, files as Microsoft equivalent. You can look in the drop-down menu. Link to location URL. I'm not really going to demonstrate that, but I can use that actually to create web-based icons. Universal Resource Locator. In other words, a web address. Basic link to file directory, not going to talk about. I'm going to skip over that, and link to application I'll skip over. Icons, sort by, paste, trash, refresh. KRunner looks like this, so I'm going to delete the whatever's in the search field, and I'll just type in cal because I'm looking for like a calculator, and here's one right there. Just showing you a quick example of KRunner. Right click, that was KRunner. Add widgets here, right click, add widgets here, right click, add widgets here. I'll talk about that next after I complete the menu. So you can add a panel. Again, this is the panel bar, and it's using the default one, Q4OS. Switcher, edit mode, lock screen, and more stuff like leave. If your system supports Sleep and Hibernate, that'll function, but however, some systems don't. I need to do something before this timer ends. Restart, shut down, and log out. I'm going to cancel. Right click. Now let's talk about widgets. What are those things? They're little toys or tools. I'm not going to use the scroll bar. As I pointed out, my vertical scroll bars, I use my computer mouse for this job. I'm going to use the example of that large clock that you saw earlier. I'm going to drop it here on the desktop and close this box. If you click open this, it'll open up a calendar. So what I'm going to do here is right click on it and enter edit mode. And then I move the clock in the center or wherever, and I'm going to drag that thing larger. Is that good enough? Yeah, this will be a large clock, and I'm having fun. So I'm going to leave that up here for a while, just to have a little bit of fun. Close that. All right. We have the panel bar downstairs. Show desktop. We have the calendar thing. Close it. Right click. You can do your time and date elements in here. Also add widgets again. The little arrow key is show hidden. This is pretty standard with a lot of Plasma desktops. There's also a configure button right up here. So if you do that, gives you some options. Okay. Where did I leave off? Okay, we have the wireless, so you can have Ethernet also, microphone, self-explanatory, Bluetooth. I'm not using it. You just click that open and start adding a device, for instance, if you have a Bluetooth capability. Volume thing, self-explanatory, clipboard, and that needs to be remaining there, simple screen recorder, which I installed through Terminal. Some more browser integration. You can also get that through, I believe, your software center. And you don't normally get anything on this panel bar on the left side except for the Plasma icon. So this is pretty much blank. So that needs to remain there though, because I need to do this for filming purposes. So let's click on this little guy and talk about favorites. I'll also give you some tips on web browsers about resizing text. And I'll talk about the Dolphin file manager to enlarge icons, also using a special trick. And then I'll talk about the system settings, and I'm not going to scare you. You don't need to change everything in here. Okay, so when I get in there, it'll be overwhelming to some folks. You don't have to do any of that stuff if you don't want to. You can search for things. My username is Mr. Senior. You have applications, computer, history, leave. Okay, now I'm going to first open up this web browser, and then I'm going to open up the second web browser that's installed in here. So I'm going to click that open. And whether I double click on this line to make it full screen, it really doesn't matter. Double click again to make it size, or you can use these keys over here if you like. So Linux for Seniors. I'm going to use that as my guinea pig.
Hello folks, and welcome.
And I'm going to quiet this loud guy. More importantly, I am going to talk about resizing text and icons. So I started this YouTube channel just on February 9th, and this is March 2, and I've already got 51 videos in here. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. Resizing text, for instance. What am I doing here? Well, I'm currently at 125%, and now I'm at 150. So it's rather large. You can also punch this into a standard web browser at Linux for Seniors, one word, .com. Sorry, not .com, sorry. At Linux for Seniors. And use that in a standard web browser, and it'll also find the my YouTube site. You can also use Linux for Seniors if you're using your smart TV apps. And take a look at my videos there. So currently, again, I have 51 videos. They're sitting in here. If you're using a standard web browser, these are active icons. That means they change slightly. There I am, fiddling around here, looks like with my chair. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back. And well, first I'm going to hit that, just allow you to see the text, and I'm going to scroll this to nothing. This is really tiny. That is somewhere around 67%. And I'm going to scroll this back to 100. This is normal size, and this is what I call senior size, or maybe that size. I sometimes also post cute community things in here, so I'm going to click that and just point out to this QR code, for instance. I'm going to resize this slightly using my method. What am I doing? Holding down the control key with my keyboard while using my computer mouse scroll wheel to resize this information. You can stop this video here, grab your smartphone, open up the camera, and point it at that thing. It's a QR code. If you're using an iPhone, for instance, if you open up the smart camera, point it at that thing, a yellow box will pop up. You click it, and it'll go directly to this YouTube site. You can bookmark that if you like my YouTube site, and tell your friends about that too. So again, I'm doing this for the senior community and also for anyone. So basically, Linux is for any age, but I'm trying to do this for just fun and viewing and making the videos simple. That's why they're long. Been doing this for over 25 years. Okay. Now, besides that and the playlist and the videos, I'm going to show you some powerful tools that a lot of people ignore. So whether you click on the video part or the playlist, this magnifying glass is always going to be here in a standard web browser. This one here is used for searching all of YouTube. This one is only used to search my videos. It doesn't matter where I'm clicking in. I'll go to the About screen if you like. Okay, I know this is not this distribution, but I'm just going to use the two letters because it's convenient for me. MX Linux. Starts looking for MX videos immediately, or anything with the word MX in it. Okay, so even this distribution AV Linux has the word MX somewhere. There it is right there, MX Desktop, MX Linux. Bingo. You get the idea? Hopefully. Subscribe. Got some links up here. There are 5 of them here. That's a limitation of YouTube. And I have 7 total here. Sometimes I change these. I'm going to click Distro Watch. And let's talk about this distribution. How do you get it? If you have not been on this YouTube site, would you like me to resize this? That's a little too blurry, isn't it? Again, what am I doing? Holding down the control key while scrolling with my computer mouse. Is that comfortable? Hopefully. I'm going to release the control key and scroll. And this is currently at number 31. And so Q4OS is based out of Germany. It's a Debian-based system. And I'm using the Plasma desktop. And here's their website. Okay. Close and continue. I think I've already talked about the panel bar. I've already talked about right-clicking on stuff. Let's talk walking through the menus. I already showed you my resizing tip here. Let's open up the file manager and do the same thing in here. Hold down the control key with my left hand while still holding it, scrolling back up and down, resizes icons on the fly. You can do it the old-fashioned way if you like. Total disk space is here. What's remaining, in other words free. My drive, I believe, was a 240, somewhere in that range. After you format it, of course, it's less. And it's one of my demo installation disks. And again, this is a fully installed system. It's not a live version and certainly not a virtual machine. So in my, where did I place it? I think I put it in, yeah, I put it here. So I have also thumbnails in here, or I should say wallpaper that I can resize in and out. And then once I release the control key on my keyboard, I can scroll in this size. So I got weird wallpapers, all kinds of weird stuff. So I'm going to go back one, actually just go to pictures and open up screenshots. As I pointed out, I made screenshots before I altered anything on this system, and I advise you do the same. So I changed the fonts, so that's why I made a screenshots, and I'll show you which font that I changed, and it's going to make a dramatic difference on the height of this box and the size of this text. I also changed the behavior of the workspace behavior from single click to double click. I'll also point that out. Here's a typical screenshot of any setting. All I make is a screenshot of the active window, not full screen. There's no desktop, you noticed, no wallpaper, in other words. And then I made some custom screenshots. You'll see some of those. So let's talk about this tool. Type in SCR in your search field and you're looking for Spectacle. Right click, pin it to the taskbar. It's called Spectacle. It's a screenshot tool. Now it's down here. How do you use it? Very simple. I'm going to use the file manager for this example. Doesn't matter what I use. I'm going to even leave the clock sitting halfway through here. Open up your screenshot tool. Now, there's a couple of different things you can do with this. Full screen, active window are my favorites. And if you do a special screenshot like that long one, it will be called rectangular region. I knew I could say that. So what I'm going to do is advocate that you use active windows when you're making system changes. Full screens if you absolutely need the wallpaper. Okay, but I will advocate whatever you select that you click that first before you hit save. You can actually go and directly do this right now because my screenshot is actually a full screen. But however, I want get into the habit of using this tool here before you use that. Just my tip. I don't use any of this stuff unless you want to capture that mouse pointer. Now I'm going to take another screenshot. The screenshots never take a picture of itself. You can put the box right on top of this thing. This is what it's going to look like. Now I'm doing the full screen. I took the screenshot and I'm going to do a save and I'm going to put it on my desktop. I'm saving it there instead of my regular pictures folder. Then I'm going to take another screenshot of just the active window and I'm going to click that again. And now you can see no wallpaper. And I'm going to save that and hit save. Now I'm going to compare apples to apples. So anyways, this is what they look like. And I can also hold down the control key down and scroll in and out of here to get you a bigger picture if you like, or just double click on the bar. And more importantly, you can clearly see everything in here. I'm holding down the control key on my keyboard again while scrolling in and out to make this larger. Multiple functions with that wonderful little tool. All right, so now you can see the wallpaper part. Okay, again, this is the lowest resolution currently. So you can also drag this thing down here if you like. Or you can just double click to resize that. So now I'm going to flip these over and let you see what the actual properties box is. That last one just went right on top of this. So I'm going to move it out of the way. So you have 94,000 versus 894,000. Guess what? This is obviously a smaller file. And that's really all you need is the screenshot of the actual thing you're trying to make a screenshot and not all the wallpaper. That's only if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. If you are wanting to make a screenshot of something like this, after you place your tool down here, like you edit your panel bar, like this, you got numbers here, I'll make a screenshot of this box right here. Right click, capture, rectangular region. I'm going to draw a box around this thing. And then I'm going to hit enter. And it captured the mouse pointer in that box because I just did that on purpose. So I'm going to close that. Where's this screenshot at? It's actually sitting in my Dolphin file manager in pictures. And there it is. This is the number I was after. But I captured the mouse pointer in between there. Just to give you a reference that I was down here on the panel bar. These are called specialized screenshots. I'm going to move that in there. And I'm going to move it there. Let me show you another nifty little trick. I'll open up a web browser. Doesn't matter which one. And I'll go to my YouTube site. And I will minimize this thing. And I'm going to chop out just this section out of this web page. Right click, capture rectangular region, and I'm going to draw a box around that right there and leave it and hit enter. And then I'm going to close that, and then I'm going to close this. And that photo or screenshot is sitting in my pictures folder right here. So yes, you can do that also with web pages. Yeah, I do some weird stuff sometimes. So I'm going to delete that on purpose and continue. What's the other web browser? Actually, if I go into the internet, it would be easier for me to show you that. It's called Conqueror. And I will also show the same thing in here. So this is a different web browser. And I can also resize the same method as I did earlier. Holding down my control key. While holding it, I scroll up and down to make the text larger. This one doesn't display the percentage, but you get the idea nonetheless. Now I'm going to close that and continue. System settings. This is a vast box that I don't want new users to be overwhelmed with. Just make changes to the stuff you think is necessary. Don't look at this as like, wow. So if you're doing global theme, just concentrate on that. Now, I'm going to advocate that you do screenshots when you change anything. And you can make a screenshot and tell me that that's blue because that's what I'm currently using. So that'll be what you're currently using. So you can add a ton of global themes in here. And you got 12 of them and you've been playing and you didn't make a screenshot and you wanted to go back. Now you can see the value of a screenshot because you're guessing. You're guessing. Screenshots are small, especially when you make them just out the window. Let's continue. You have Plasma style. You can get others. You can also install them from files. Lots of different options. Lots of different boxes. Again, which is the one that's currently in use? The one that's lit up blue. This one. Fonts. I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm going to resize this box because I want to squeeze the other one in here for a screenshot, to let you compare apples to apples. So that's my font screenshot. Again, it may look small, so what I'm going to do is resize it my way. As soon as I press down on the control key, it lights up with a magnifying glass, and I'm going to scroll up. And actually, now I'm going to scroll normally, and I'm looking for this font right here that matches. And this, you can tell that was a 10 and that's a 12. This is where screenshots really come in handy. I'm going to scroll back out. You can do this manually if you like. Now what I'm going to do in this case here is I'm going to actually open this box and show you some interesting features. See the top of this box here? I am going to drag this where it's roughly about the same height to get a reference of this box. Let me resize it slightly down so it'll kind of line up. So you agree that kind of goes in the middle of this where my two arrows are, roughly? Watch what happens when I change this. First of all, you can see the size of the fonts right now. So I'm going to drop this to the default, which is what? 10. What would I do if I'm in case in changing fonts and stuff? Screenshot. I keep hammering that because I think they are important. You may not think so. I do. And you don't have to. That's all up to you. Hopefully you got a good memory. Now you can see the size of that box. It's really dinky, small. So is the font sizes. Do you see the difference in the height of this box though? I was over here. It was right about there. What happens when you go to a 14? Scroll down to 14, click OK, and apply. Some of you folks may like this. That box is now enormously large, and so are all the fonts. It exceeds the height of the box. Let's go to 12. That's where I was. And I forgot to do this again. I have to hit apply. And now I'm back to where I was. And one more demo for what's the default. Number 10. And apply. That's what the original box looks like if you install the system. Big difference. All I did was one little change right in here. It helps to know these little tips and tricks. Trust me. All right, I'm going to continue. Now I have to hit apply to continue. So we're back to a larger box. And now I'm going to scroll back out of here. Talk about icon sets. If you're going to add more themes or icons in this case, this is what I'm currently using. So a good screenshot of that before I start clicking on things, right? Before you click that and hit apply, good idea to make a screenshot. Now I'm going to stop here with mouse cursors. You may have seen my videos for your users that were used to be my older subscribers. You've probably seen me use this many times, or at least on some of the other videos. I use my file manager to install these things. You can install them here though. The reason I use my file manager to do that kind of work, and I'm not going to cover the procedure here today, because I can add 6 or 7 mouse themes all at the same time, and I can delete them at will using just the delete key in the file manager. But you can install these here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this box side by side for a second. And this clock is rather large, so I think the preliminary box is somewhere in here. There's an actual imaginary box in here. So what I'm going to do is actually click the oxygen blue, and I'll let you see that the icon, my mouse pointer is still blue. And then I'm going to change this to a 24. You agree that's a small guy? Yeah. That just changed to an enormous size one. What is happening here is the fact that anytime you change your mouse pointer, or even the size, I have been advocating this for the last, I think 2 years now, is to reboot your machine. Log out of your machine first. Try that, if not a reboot. Log out of your system. It only takes a couple seconds. If you are altering mouse pointers. Now, since my mouse pointer was already logged out with the 72, I don't have a problem with this one. You'll see that in a second. I can go anywhere on the screen right now. It will not do that weird looking glitch. Yeah, it'll do the resizer, but not the glitch. I'm going to switch to the yellow one and hit apply. So this thing is still yellow. Now it's blue. Now it's yellow. Now it's blue. Now it's yellow. Now it's blue. This is what I'm talking about, and it freaks people out. Just log out of your system and you'll be done. Now let me continue. A lot of times you want to pay attention to the size of the pointers also. This one is capable of doing a 24 through 72. This classic one here, on the other hand, is not capable of resizing. This is what you get. Watch what happens when I travel out. Still holding the previous mouse pointer. How do I fix a problem like that again? Log out of your system and back in. If not, reboot. So some of these will be very large. This Adwaita is available on several Linux distributions. So I'm going to hit apply and pick that to the largest size of 96. So that's a 96, for instance, in my screen resolution of 1080. What happens when you drop your screen resolution to 800 by 600? This becomes enormous. Your mouse pointers are also a good, if you want to think about it, screen resolution to the size of the pointer. It's still blue. Why is it still blue? Because I haven't logged out of my system if I wanted to keep this mouse pointer. Let me go back to the blue one and hit apply, and this will remain. So again, you can get new cursors here. Now I'm going to continue. So we have general behavior. One more time. Workspace behavior. This is where I click from single to double because I do not like to open items or open files with single clicks because they sometimes misclick. A lot of your Linux distributions will automatically default to double click, and I prefer that myself. And I've been working with Linux for over 25 years. You know, graphical managers weren't available when I first started. I had to do everything out of terminal. But more importantly, I like the double click feature a lot better than single click. It is a preference with me, but more importantly, wanted to point out what the default feature is. Do you remember I did that screenshot? I don't think I need to open that to point that out, but I wanted to point it out to you anyways. So there are a lot of options in here, folks, and don't let all this stuff overwhelm you. Just search for the function that you want to click on. If you want to add a new user, then go here. New user is pretty easy to follow. You need to do some accessibility stuff, then click that. There's different stuff in here. You are wanting to take a look at your display settings. Well, that's where that's done. And what did I say about if you change your resolution or refresh rate? You noticed I'm capable of that. Hit apply. Screen stays black for more than 5 seconds. Don't turn your computer off. Leave it on for a good, almost up to a minute in some cases. But it should revert back to the previous screen resolution is what I'm getting at. You got printers? I do. I have a laser printer that's Wi-Fi laser printer. All my Linux distro will find these automatically, and so will my mobile devices. So if you're using USB corded printers, you may have to use the add printer thing. Removable storage, bunch of options there, and then again, system information. This again is Q4OS based off of Debian. And you can see all the Plasma information and the kernel number right there. And again, this is a 64-bit OS. Forget about the hardware. I do other stuff with these machines. You can have a search feature too. That's settings. It's probably the heaviest box I concentrated on. Let's walk through the menus fairly quick. We have games category. I installed one game. There was already one there. Under graphics, this is what you get installed if you pick that, install the full package. Internet, you get Google Chrome, and you get the Conqueror web browser. Again, my trick of resizing the text in there is the same for not only Google Chrome, Conqueror, and if you add Firefox, you can also do the same, and also Brave. Keep that in mind if you install other web browsers. My little trick of resizing text. Thunderbird email client and other pieces of software. I'm going to continue now. Multimedia, Clementine, K3B for burning software. I added this manually. I did it through Terminal, and I'll show you a couple of those commands a little bit later. VOC. LibreOffice Writer comes installed. The best price with LibreOffice Writer, it's free. It's also available on Microsoft Windows and Macs. LibreOffice Writer, if you use the Save As feature, will save it as Microsoft equivalent files. My understanding from other folks is it's 100% compatible with Microsoft Office. At least that's what I've been told. Again, LibreOffice is available for Microsoft Windows and Mac. My wife has a Mac laptop, a new one. You go to the LibreOffice website and install that. Or you can, I may even be in their software manager for Macs nowadays. But again, it's a free Office suite. I don't recall how I installed it, to be honest with you, but it's installed on her machine. Let's move along. Office. So that's part of the LibreOffice math program. It's more for the scientific community maybe. I'm going to talk about the firewall just briefly. This is GovW. If you're doing any file sharing on your local network, you need to write rules if you activate the firewall under normal conditions. Like Samba, for instance. These are set to deny incoming. You can, of course, allow them, but it defeats kind of the purpose. So write some rules if you're using Samba or something other equivalent. File sharing. Where did I leave off? Settings, was it? Yeah, so another shortcut there. System. Discover Software Center. Again, a very nice software center. Dolphin your file manager. And keep in mind you can resize icons using my trick, the same as the web browsers. Top is a process viewer. Info Center has all kinds of information about your system. Partition Manager, I also have dedicated videos on Gparted and GNOME Disk Utility already loaded on my YouTube site. They are 40 to 50 minutes long in detail. Console, and I'm going to click this in a second. There's System Monitor, Wallet, and the Software Center. Again, you can also, when you open that, you can also click the that Discover thing. Here's your welcome screen, but you just type in WEL for welcome and you'll be able to open that up. And if you don't, like I said, if you don't uncheck that, so this will keep showing up. We can turn it off here. Let me go back to where I was. Where was I? System, was it? And for your more advanced users, probably Xterm, UXterm and Xterm. Now let me open up the console or terminal and just give you some settings in here to how to install something. I should have resized the fonts, and I apologize, in console. So I am just going to try to do this the hard way, as one would say, and hopefully you can read these icons, and hopefully you're watching this on a fairly large screen, but I will read it to you nonetheless. So I got a lot of commands in here, but I'm going to show you a really cutesy one. If you want to have like, I think it's kind of like trivia or little sayings, but I'm going to break the whole installation command for you down. Sudo means super user do, so that says sudo, and then I put a space, and the next line is apt, or next word, space, and the name install. So basically the command for anything to install is apt space install. The name of the application or program is Fortune, and I'll show that in a second. Here's another example of this is how I installed Simple Screen Recorder. The thing is recording this video. I installed it using that command line right there. Sudo apt install Simple Screen Recorder is one word in the file manager. The software the software comes from the same sources as your point and click, your software center, in other words. So NCal is an interesting little toy. You can also install that to figure out birthdays and stuff. So let me give you an example of a couple of these. I'm going to actually just cheat. Instead of typing this, I'm going to copy that word. And I'm going to give you an example of Fortune, because I got that installed. You need to install it if you decide to do this. So I'm going to punch up clears to get rid of this junk. And then I'm going to actually right click and paste that command. So the Fortune command gives you little sayings. So that was done by that person. If you do this one more time, it's a different saying. You can create your own opportunities this week. Blackmail a senior executive. Oh, that's awful. Abuse of greatness. Yeah, the William Shakespeare. Next. And anyways, you can do this all day long. So the other one is called NCal that I installed, and it installs something that does this, and you're going to laugh going, I don't really need a calendar, I got one right here. Or I can click this and I got one right here. However, this one can do some powerful things. So I'm going to punch up the word cal. I'm sorry, I have to click in here because it starts using KRunner, and I start doing that. Type in cal, hit space, and then give it a month. Like you can use numbers. So 1 through 12 obviously is January through December. Or you can use for January you use 1 and then a space, and then you can put in a year. So this will be for January 1967. You have a friend born January 1967, there's the calendar for that. Your friend was born on the 23rd, he or she was born on a Monday. I'll do another one, and I'm going to use letters. So I'm going to use cal, and then I'm going to use MAR for March, and put in a different year, like 1987, for instance. I could have used 18, but I don't think anybody's still alive back in those days. But anyways, March 1987 is the calendar up here. So if you got a friend born in March of 1987 and they were born on the 18th, they were born on a Wednesday. Now I'm going to do a little bit of trivia. Some of you folks have already seen me do this over the years, just to have a little bit of fun with Terminal to get people comfortable with it. That's why I bring this up. So for you folks in the United States, July 4th, Independence Day, 1776, fell on which day of the week? We can use a web browser to find this, but I can use Terminal to find it in 1 second. It was a Thursday. That's the calendar from 1776. So these are just simple little commands you can have fun with, especially guessing at the day of the week that your friend or family is born on. So again, history is the history of commands, and the installation commands are pretty simple to use, as long as you remember this prefix. Sudo means super user do space apt space install, and the name of the software you do need to know. There's a lot of simple ones, like VLC is one of them, that I know on the top of my head. because I used it so many times. When you use the sudo command for the first time in terminal, it'll ask you for your password. Then it'll start running and look for the software, and if it's available, it'll pause for a second and ask you if you want to continue. You hit yes, and it'll fully install it. Okay? So you can install stuff rather quickly doing that kind of stuff. All right, so that's terminal in a nutshell. Let's just continue. Where did I leave off? Utilities, possibly? No, actually, I was in the previous one, so sorry. I was under system. So that was console, and again, it's terminal. You can see the word underneath it. Yeah, I actually did talk about that. I apologize. So we're done with system. So utilities. There is an archiving tool. You can also use your file manager in this manner. So Dolphin, I'm going to find some documents. And they're kind of scattered all over the place. So what I'm going to do is get rid of all the zip folders and delete them. All I'm doing is multi-selecting using my control key. Yeah, that control key comes in handy. So if you're doing multi-select and you want to compress all of these except for one, just drag a box through them. And then right-click and compress. The .zip format is the most compatible with Microsoft Windows, Mac, and Linux. But you can also do other functions. So I'm going to compress this to zip, and it's going to take the name of my folder, which is documents, and compress them. Okay, now you can just right click and rename that to whatever you want. So I'm going to use Z, or no, let's not use Z. How about test one? That's probably a better name. Now I'm going to show you a nifty little trick that some folks don't know when they're trying to uncompress things. You know, you can extract here, you can extract the archive, you can open up the archive, extract, extract, extract. So I got 4 files in here, right? What if you only wanted one? You have this sitting on a USB stick. You're kind of limited on hard drive space. You don't want to uncompress all of them, whatever your reason for it. I'm going to actually do this in front of you. I only want one thing out of this mess, and I'm going to drag it to my desktop. I want that PDF right there. Click and drag it and drop it. Now I'm going to close this. You didn't notice I did not extract anything else. That's just a PDF. I believe it's a camera. Yeah. So that contains the rest of the files. Do I want to do another one? Sure, why not? There's a JPEG. You get where I'm going with this, I hope? Okay, I'm going to draw a box around these two guys and hit delete. Now I'm done. All right, so that was a quick demo on compressing and uncompressing things and dragging stuff on your desktop. Then you can open up the full archiver tool here. There's an emoji selector, there's a scientific calculator, there's all kinds of toys. Here's the screenshot utility. I already have it down here, but again, you can also add it to your desktop if you like. And I think, is that the last icon in the menu, I think? No, I'm sorry, there's the Help Center. So you got additional questions, you may want to look through that. All right, my computer, basically just shortcuts and history, and then of course you have leave. And again, you remember the size of this box is determined by my font size. Now I'm going to click in here and type in Cal. Take a look at what it just did. It started guessing immediately. So if I'm just type in Libre, it's LibreOffice Writer, for instance. All I did was start typing. I didn't click anything, folks. All I started was typing. C-A-L. It's done with the magic of KRunner. Okay, so you can also hit Alt Space and bring that box open. Alt and Space key. There you go. I think I covered the panel bar, the massive clock, the desktop stuff, and everything else in between. So I only have a couple of things to say. Please subscribe, and you will enjoy the rest of my videos. Again, I do have chapters on all my videos. You can click through them slowly if you don't have the time to watch it in one sitting. And I'll say have a wonderful tomorrow. Thank you for watching.